overall, this music which you prepare using AI is not as good as the genuine music where people work really hard to create something that's outstanding, right? So that's one thing. Number two is perhaps there are ways using AI to detect fake artists so they don't sound similar, for example.
Music has always been a deeply personal and transformative experience, but the digital age has brought with it new challenges for both artists and listeners. 25 years ago, that was platforms like Napster. And I don't know, Raj, if you remember Napster, it was essentially the first streaming platform that encountered all kinds of, different legal issues with copyright and that. Since then, we've leaned into the streaming model, but the industry is facing a new challenge now, namely the rise of AI-generated content. And the problem with this is that it's being used for fraudulent purposes, undermining the authenticity of music. And these fake albums are showing up on streaming platforms like Spotify, targeting real artists and confusing fans, while these fraudsters using AI profit from these pretty deceptive practices. So, Raj, you sort one problem out and another one rises in its issue. What are your first thoughts on fake albums?
Yeah, I mean, before we go into sort of discuss about these sort of the fake album challenges, let's kind of go back to the time where almost every music company was against Spotify, and they didn't want them to release music on their platform. And now it's become the mainstream platform to release your music, your album, and they are facing challenges with people faking with AI. So this is like a constantly evolving situation where there is no, this becomes more and more interesting as you sort one problem out, as I was saying earlier, the problem starts, right? It's like a can of worms you can't kind of close back. So yeah, very interesting. Who would have thought that 4 years back, for example? And now we have this problem to kind of people faking the music. Whole heap of people excited about becoming music artists and musicians on the back of AI, which is just kind of funny in its own way. But I feel this is going to be another uh, problem which could be fixed eventually, but at this point in time, a bit of a challenge for Spotify and others in the industry.
Yeah, yeah. Now, obviously, Spotify's had its problems in the past. I mean, there's been a lot of the very big artists that have said that the platform, doesn't pay a lot per stream, etc., etc. And I think that maybe from a perspective of those big artists, that yes, okay, it's still lucrative for them. Not as lucrative as physical album sales, but it really has affected the smaller artists. Are we going to see a shift now because smaller artists are generating less streams, so they're less likely to be targeted by these AI-generated fake albums?
My feeling is that they will find a solution to this problem fairly quickly. Because it's at the end of the day, there are such distribution channels that exist on other platforms where you have a little bit of a situation where authenticity is really important. For example, LinkedIn, right? LinkedIn has different profiles. You're meant to upload your authentic profile. They found a way to authenticate people. So they are able to then say, okay, this guy is genuine, this person is not genuine, and get rid of those people who are not genuine, right? Similarly, I feel they will find a fix to this problem around Spotify. And the big issue here is the distribution networks, right? So what happens is when you want to distribute your song, you use through these distribution networks, which are basically software SaaS tools, software as a service tools, which then go around distributing the content. And there is this notion, or this is based on trust, right? So when you upload your song, the metadata, which is the actual text behind the song album, or the actual MP3, for example, is what they use to understand who the artist is. Now people have been faking that, for example, and that breaking that trust. They have to think about a new approach to building trust and how to authenticate people who genuinely upload their album, so that when you upload a album as, I don't know, Britney Spears, for example, doesn't go to the real Britney Spears, for instance, actually goes to the fake one, and when she gets marked as spam and then deleted. So
Mm.
there has to be a new system to kind of make sure that everything we upload to Spotify and other music channels are actually genuine albums of people.
Yeah, yeah. Now, I mean, you've mentioned exploiting distributors and metadata systems. What measures could streaming platforms like Spotify actually implement to better detect and prevent this fake AI generated content? Are there best practices maybe from other industries that could be applied here? You did mention, like LinkedIn, for example, has already got a system in place. Um, it's never going to be a copy paste from another industry, but there should be a system already that's working to spot this kind of content.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, as it happens, we've been talking about crypto as well in the last podcast, and we've been talking about how crypto is really changing the world. I feel the biggest application of crypto actually is a blockchain, the technology which runs crypto, and what crypto or what blockchain has in its fundamentals is a open ledger. So you can actually be able to pinpoint who uploaded the content in the first place, have a distributed ledger so that's openly available. You can verify who the actual artist is, and if it matches the artist we want to use. In the example earlier, Britney Spears, for example, we actually got Britney Spears' next album, and we put that onto onto Spotify or YouTube or any other the platform you use. So that already exists as technology. Someone would probably build a, a version of the tool which can then allow people to authenticate users. And with open ledger and the technology behind, we can actually create a fair way to attribute as well as identify different artists.
Yeah, yeah. Now, AI tools have obviously made it a lot easier to create these fraudulent tracks and albums, but they also offer potential solutions. Do you think AI itself could play a role in detecting and mitigating this kind of abuse? I mean, we've spoken before about uh, images and voiceovers, etc., being kind of imprinted with some sort of watermark that you can detect that it is actually not real. So, are we going to see something similar with music, maybe?
Yes, potentially. What I'd say, Megan, is that, for example, when you generate content using AI, the way you actually detect if the content is using AI is AI is built on generating the next word, the next character, the next bit of music, for example. So that kind of way of tokenizing things and actually to be able to know what's coming next based on the previous token can be used to detect if the content is AI or not. So that's one thing you can definitely use. You can actually use uh, certain tools which can provide you with an authentic or fake AI version, a sloppy or a stop version of the music, for example. Because overall, this music which you prepare using AI is not as good as the genuine music where people work really hard to create something that's outstanding, right? So
Mm.
that's one thing. Number two is perhaps there are ways using AI to detect fake artists, so they don't sound similar, for example. You can detect that as well. And finally, as you mentioned in the previous section, that perhaps the idea is to use blockchain to authenticate, and that is going to use then blockchain and AI together to find who are the real artists and who are the fake ones, and then get rid of them.
Yeah, yeah. Do you think we're going to see something where some artists actually lean into this? And to bring back the Napster example, obviously that was a file sharing service in the late 90s, early 2000s. But it hit a lot of problems because fans were sharing these music files between them, and bands like Metallica and Madonna got involved, and it was all kinds of copyright infringements, etc. But there was a unique case where Radiohead released an album, and the file sharing service actually kind of promoted the album without them having to do much, and they actually charted in the US, which they hadn't done before. So are we going to see some bands or artists maybe leaning into this and using it to their advantage somehow?
There has to be one or two, right? Where they kind of come in and say, "Hey, I'm the fake Justin Bieber." Well, actually, I am just fake Bieber, and then fake Bieber becomes the trend. It's a bit like, again, Dogecoins, right? It became as like all these meme coins meant to be a
Yeah.
joke, but they became a real thing. And even now with Bitcoin going up, even they are going up as well in prices. So as it happens, sometimes there is an opportunity, and there are always marketeers out there who want to find an opportunity to make a quick buck, and I'm sure there will be few of them who will show up. Fake Biebers, I don't know, fake, you name your artist or your band, and you'll have, fake, maybe hot play. You have Coldplay, you might get a hot play as well. You never know. So let's see what comes out of this.
Back to kind of the more serious side. If platforms don't address these vulnerabilities effectively, what are the long-term risks that this could pose for both their reputation and for the broader digital music ecosystem? Could this create opportunities for new platforms with stronger safeguards to emerge, or is it going to damage digital music across the board?
Well, the answer lies in the fact as to how quickly Spotify can fix this issue. If they can fix the issue pretty quickly, which they can, I know I believe they have the resources and they have the know-how, then it should not be a major threat for them. But if they can't, then they will emerge a new platform, which will be the trusted Spotify. And you've
Mm.
seen it before, right? You have Friendster, then came MySpace, then came Facebook, and then this evolution came to TikTok. There's always evolution which happens in these different tech tools. So
Mm.
yeah, it's up to Spotify now to fix the problem. They can fix it, and they can get it done in a authentic, genuine way, and they can let people to have the music albums, identify them as a real artist. Then they should be okay. If it takes a long time, then there's definitely opportunity for somebody else to come into the market.
Yeah, yeah. What do you guys think? Can streaming platforms like Spotify step up to protect authenticity in music, or will this problem continue to grow? We'd love to hear your thoughts. Please pop them in the comments. And if you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to follow or subscribe, and we will check you out in the next episode.